Good morning, guys, my lovely fans and subscriber and audience. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to make this very delicious Asian fall off bone pork ribs recipes. I am making this slightly different from the Christmas, the one that I've shown you earlier on at my job. So today I'm trying to use a rub instead of marinade. So let's get started. As you can see, the pork rib is really big. It's not like the one that is in a long form. You can buy them too. We will let you know when it's ready. Okay, and also I need to on the oven first. Let me just turn the oven to about 200 degrees Celsius. Yes. And then what you really need now is to prepare the ribs. But before that, let me just show you what are the ingredients we need for making this rubs. So this live streaming is going to be in two parts. Because of the long cooking, you will not be able to wait for me, right? During live streaming for 2.5 hours. You'll be exhausted or falling asleep. So I'm going to show you very quickly what are the ingredients that we need for the rubs and also making a barbecue sauce. So for the rubs, I have some ingredients ready. This is brown sugar. You can use the soft one too. I know in some countries, the brown sugar is the softer type that feels like a paste. You can use that too. Or you can also use palm sugar if you're in Thailand, the powdered one. If you don't have that, then maybe you can use something similar to brown sugar that has, you know, of course it's not too dark sugar. It has to be a light brown sugar. You can also use honey if you have. Next, we need some black pepper, which is this one, and salt, about a half teaspoon of black pepper, and about 1 teaspoon and a half of salt. And also I have some pork stock powder here. Basically, it means the bouillon. If you can find powdered form would be good. If you can't find powdered form, you can forget about that. And also chili pepper and ginger. This is the ecologist ginger powder. If you don't have fresh ginger powder, this is quite fresh one because I just bought them grind from Singapore. They are ecologists, a bit expensive, but I think it's worth it. But if you cannot find powdered, you can use fresh grated ginger juice too. And also some Asian spice. So all you need to do is to mix everything in a big bowl. Just like this. Just hope that it's fully mixed. I'm wearing my lazy neck tripod today because it's faster to move around with that. The disadvantage is it will vibrate. And then next, I'm going to show you how to prepare the ribs. So this is the ribs, the Swedish ribs and the ribs that you find in your country might be a bit different. So usually when I like to choose a ribs that has more meat because it's more food, it means. So usually you can buy them like this in a small chunk. The one in Sweden is really big. So this should be enough for 2 person or maximum 3 person, depending on if you have a side dish to go with this. So usually I like to remove the fat of the meat. So I'm just going to use the knife to remove a little bit. So you want to cut this away. You don't want to have so much fat. So, see, it's quite a lot of fat, right? And then, you see, all this are fat. Usually, I just cut on those on the surface, so I don't have to. You have to have a little bit of fat too, not totally fat-free, because the fat will keep the meat moist. Some Asian kitchen, during my mother's time, they don't like to cut the fat. In fact, when they buy ribs, they make sure that they buy the fattest one, which I don't really agree. I think that eating too much fat is not so healthy. So this is some kind of a thicker part. I think it's the thicker part. You can buy the thinner part, but I think it's kind of difficult to find the really thinner part of the ribs at supermarket. Usually, the Swedish people doesn't like it. So I'm just going to cut as much as possible here, like this. This is the vein. So this I don't want. And also, if you notice, to make this really falling apart, if you buy the long ribs, right? So if you notice, there is a skin here. I don't know whether you can see it. So there is a skin here where you need to remove. So if it's a very long ribs, you can just pull it off slowly. So usually it's easier to pull it off if you have a paper towel. Let me just see if I can get this off from the meat. See? I'm wearing a glove, so it's really slippery, but it's still possible to remove it. Yeah, I remove this part. And also, if you notice here, you can remove from here too. Let me bring up the camera. Okay, if you use a knife to just go underneath the bone here, you can see, right? It's like a skin underneath. So, I don't know about using the knife, but I usually like to use, see, you have to pull this apart. It's quite difficult to pull it apart if you're wearing a glove. So I'm using my paper towel. You see, it can be done. So now it's gone. So throw this away. And then I'm going to cut the ribs into two. As you can see, that the farmers, they use this really giant saw, and then sometimes, you know, like this part is a bit too small, and this is a bit too big. So usually, like for small piece like this, so I just cut them into two. So it's like about 50 grams on each. So about this size should be ideal. This is almost the same size as this, so I'm quite happy with that. And then I'm gonna cut. You see the skin is off, so it's much easier to cut. So I'm just going to cut them like this. Sometimes you have to slant the knife a bit. I've made, if you guys are looking for the one that I made earlier on, I think I have included the recipes with the brine one. I've tasted it and photographed it. It was really delicious. And I hope you guys can watch that video too and tell me what you think. If you have chosen to make it, I would like to hear from you in the comment. Okay, now I have how many pieces here? I have about 7 pieces here. So I think this is okay. So what you want to do is you want to put them in the wraps, and you just make sure that you coat them around like this. Okay, can put this aside. Gonna continue with the others. Okay, the oven is ready. You say, beep, 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 I'm ready. Let me just transfer this over so I can see how much is left on the wraps. So there you go. So I'm going to transfer this whole thing onto a tray. Put them, assemble them here. And of course, you know, the liquid will come out for sure. And then I'm going to take the rest of some of the wraps. Just going to sprinkle it on top. It's the sound of my stove. So, like this. I think I must well use everything, pour everything on top. Okay, that's it. Just make sure it's ready to be put in the oven. Let me remove my glove. Oven is at 200 degrees. I'm putting in the middle of the oven. Oh, I forgot something. I have to cover them actually. So let me just, luckily I remember. You have to cover them because if you don't, it will be burned and it will be dry. So I'm using another aluminum foil to cover this. Put it closer a little bit. So you don't burn them. It will be just perfect. So I'm going to put it into the oven again. So this will be in the oven for 2 hours at 200 degrees Celsius. And also do check out like after 1 hour, just open the foil and see. Of course, the water will slowly come out and flood the whole pan. It's only normal. Don't be too excited because that's only normal. So you want to make a glaze to glaze the ribs. So once the ribs has been taken out, you remove the water from the pan, from the foil. And then you want to brush the ribs with this marinade. So I'm going to show you how to make this Asian home marinade. So I have about one, let me see, I think it's about 1 teaspoon of honey. I'm using tomato puree. In Sweden, everything is in cubes. Don't ask me why. It seems like a lot of our food is in tubes. So I'm going to be using about 1 tablespoon of tomato puree and about this much of vinegar and also sesame oil. I like to use quite a bit of sesame oil. And also, if you have soya, you use soya. If you don't have soya, I'm using this Maggi seasoning. About a tablespoon. And then I have this barbecue oil. We call that the Glaze. Swedish like to use this a lot. This is with the citrus taste. And then I'm using a little bit of a dark soy sauce, about half a teaspoon maybe. And if you like, you can add a bit of maizena, corn flour. Let me just see if I can. If I have some corn flour. Yes, I have a little bit of potato flour. So if you don't have corn flour, you can use potato flour. Just a bit will do. About half a teaspoon. This is just to thicken it. This is finished. As well. Okay, about half a teaspoon. So it's just to thicken the sauce. So you see, you get a very, very nice barbecue glaze where you can use a brush and apply on the ribs when they are done. And then what you do is that I will go on live streaming later again, and I'm going to show you the whole procedure. You take out the ribs. If you're not coming back to watch this, I'll just tell you now. What I will do is that I'll take out the ribs after 2 hours, and then I'll remove the water, and then I'll apply this. I'll just brush it on each side of the ribs, and then I put it in the oven. and then I take it out after 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how hot it is. So if it's about 200 degrees, maybe it's not that hot enough, so you have to put on a grill, which is about 300 degrees Celsius. So that will be even faster. So you will get this really nice barbecue surface on the ribs, and then take it out again, turn the ribs over to the other side, and again brush this marinade, put it back into the oven again for 5-10 minutes, and then you're all ready to be served. And I hope to see you again later on when the ribs are done, and I cannot wait to show you how it looks like later. So bye for now. I hope to see you again real soon. Bye bye.